Hello everyone, today it's time for another rant style video. And of course it will be about LED, because what else is there to complain about? It's been like 15 years since LED has become a thing. And even though it's been 15 years, it's still pretty much evolving. Like they're making the LEDs even more energy efficient, they're adding a lot of extra stuff to the LEDs. But that does bring a big problem, and I have some examples of problems that I ran into at work, which in my opinion are quite ridiculous. And let's start with example number one, which is these Philips CityTouch things, which I don't really know how much this is like a problem in other countries, but at least in the Netherlands it's quite a big problem, because a lot of fixtures or LED fixtures have these things on them, which these are devices that connect to a system so that the council can do all kinds of things with it, like they can see failures, so you can actually, this thing already tells you if there's like a failure with the driver or if the lantern itself doesn't get electricity. A lot of fancy stuff you can do with it. But the problem with this thing is, like, Philips or Signify have been kind of changing the design and everything over the years, which doesn't sound like a bad thing at all, but the problem is that they kind of keep changing them in a way where the older versions aren't really replaceable anymore, so you kind of have just to throw away the entire lantern. So for example, the one of the earliest versions of these things are actually ones that had the screw base inside of the CityTouch sensor itself. So that would mean there is no way to disconnect the screw base here, and then there was an external device in the lantern itself that would kind of control the CityTouch thing and send information to the council and everything. And since 2021 I think Philips is using these ones, which these are the newest versions here, and those you can actually disconnect from their screw base, which makes it a lot of easier to replace the device and everything. And also you don't need an external controller, this is just basically it, and then the entire compartment is in the driver itself. But then the problem here is that Philips also keeps changing their drivers. So basically this is what a new Philips driver looks like, or at least somewhere similar. It's a sort of a square shaped driver, which fits in most lanterns. But then here you have the older driver, or these are still produced, but it's like the lower wattages, like the 40 watts and 22 watts, where the longer version isn't produced anymore. But then also the problem is, like, other companies that use Philips driver made their lantern in a way that this driver fits in there, and this one doesn't fit in there anymore. So I mean, what are you going to do whenever a driver in those kinds of fixtures breaks? Are you just gonna replace the entire lantern? Well, you kind of have to at least remove like the older style driver from damaged lanterns, so you can still kind of replace it. But then here's also the older drivers, which these mostly have these kinds of pucks on there, which if that external controller fails, which it does quite often actually, you kind of have to replace the entire lantern. Because I mean, you could choose to install one of these, like this is the basically just the screw base and everything here, but I mean it's kind of hard to do that without with making the fixture waterproof, because I mean, like, these things are quite expensive and you don't even get like all of the rubbers and everything included. And then also you would have to replace the perfectly fine, in most cases, CityTouch thing itself, which is also quite ridiculous. I mean, at this point it's already becoming quite expensive, and if you choose to do it this way, you can't even, like, you're not guaranteed the fixture will be waterproof anymore, because also the size of this is different. But this, like, is an overall trend that I'm noticing with LED fixtures. They keep making them in a way, or adding stuff to them that's not easily replaceable, and they keep changing the design of like ballast and everything over the years. Just picture this, you have like a fixture for a high pressure sodium bulb, and then like in after 5 years the bulb itself fills, and like Signify just said, ah, fuck it, you'll just have to buy another fixture, we're not producing these bulbs anymore, and the new ones don't even fit in the lantern itself. In my opinion, that's really not how it should be. I mean, if you want to change the design of the drives and everything, that's fine, just keep producing the old ones, because there are a lot of fixtures that still work on the old system. And basically, if one of these devices fail, which are already very expensive, Philips just said, no, fuck it, buy a new lantern from us. Which in my opinion is just a waste of still good materials, a waste of money, just a big waste of everything. And then the next case is also one with smart lanterns. So in the Netherlands there's like a pretty new company, at least quite new to the business, which is called Sustainer, which produces some pretty decent LED lanterns. And they were quite smart, because they actually made their own little device that sends information to the council and everything. Which is basically just a print, and which sends information to the council, which is inside of the lantern, so you don't have to have like an ugly sensor on your lantern itself. Which sounds nice, but again, that's like a thing that one company decides, which is quite hard to get new materials for. Which is just another ridiculous thing that like we as people that have to maintain the lanterns, we can't get new ones of. So every time one of those lanterns fail, we'll just have to put up a temporary lantern, send the defect lantern to the company itself, they will repair it for you, and probably, I'm not sure how that works, but probably charge money for that as well, and then you'll have to install the old lantern back in its place, which is a lot of extra ridiculous work for such a small thing. And then just another thing with these CityTouch things, like I really wonder how well these rubbers like are going to be after like 20 years of service. Like I think like England already has like photo cells on the lantern, which is kind of the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of defect lanterns there with just lanterns filling up with water because it's like not closed properly or not installed properly, or just the rubber gets old. So while LED is probably the future, it's not a very bright future in my opinion. And yes, they really do fail less often, but whenever they fail, it's mostly something that's quite hard to replace, if you can even replace it. But please let me know what you think about the situation. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day and see you in the next video.